I just can't see them losing that many games. Now, unfortunately, I do think it's over.
There's a relegation battle going on. So I've
do we
got to
have
ask
to?
you. Yeah,
I don't want to lose.
I had to speak about Man City. I'm sorry, Joe, man. Genuinely, I don't know where the blame lies because, I mean, everyone's blaming Ollie. Ollie gets sacked and things are still just as bad.
You know, Bruno Fernandes came in last year and he was scoring for fun. It was all fun and games. Now, you know, I probably wouldn't even have him in the West Ham team. He's been that bad.
We're gone. I'm adamant we're going now. I'm adamant Norwich are gone. They've been gone pretty much ever since they won the championship.
So far from what I've seen, if he continues in the direction that he's going, we could be on to having a really, really good centre-back for the next 5 to 7 years, if not longer.
He was head and shoulders above anything we've ever had at that point. He's easily the most technically gifted Burnley player I've ever seen in my lifetime.
He genuinely made a lot of Liverpool fans feel as though he was going to help us win the league. Hello, happy new year to everyone watching and welcome back to another episode of the Premier League Talk Show. The Premier League Talk Show for the fans, by the fans, and I'm delighted to be joined by the one and only Nicky from West Ham Fan TV, Joe from TurfCast, and my name is Callum from Kopish. Hope you guys are well and had a great new year and great Christmas. Nicky, Joe, how you guys doing?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. Yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. Right, got to start with a topic which is a sore subject for me, but you know we're told to speak about these things, so we got to. So Manchester City have opened up a 10-point lead at the top of the league. Bar humbug. Guys, do you think the league is over? Is the title race finished? Should we just crown Man City the champions now?
I'll go first. Yeah, listen, football's one of them sports where you can never say never, but you would have to think now 10 points. You know, I can't see, unless they've got a catastrophe with injuries or they're forced to play with sort of like COVID cases and all that. I can't see them losing that many on the spin. They're a very good side. They're very efficient. You know, you saw that against Arsenal the other day. A little bit of a helping hand, obviously, but that's hey ho. That's how it goes in the Premier League. But you know, they just seem to be able to get them wins. They don't lose many. If you look over the past few seasons, they probably haven't lost more than 5 or 6. And I think they've already got a couple of losses in probably not even that many, to be honest with you. I haven't looked at the stats. So you've got to say, you know, they've got to now lose 4 games. Yeah, I would say it was over. Which is a shame, I think, for the Premier League because, you know, you want them title races to go to the end of the season, but with just the way they are, what they've got in the tank, you know, if one player gets injured, they've got another. You know, you can't even, if it's any other club, you'd say, oh yeah, a few injuries and all that sort of thing, but they've got just as good players to come in as they've got playing already. I just can't see them losing that many games. Now, unfortunately, I do think it's over.
Yeah, I've got to agree. I think, you know, they've got to lose, 4 games for the rest of the season for Liverpool to catch them. That's if Liverpool win every single game. Yeah. They're not going to lose 4 games between now and the end of the season, and Liverpool aren't going to win every single game. And Nicky just mentioned, like, with some teams, you say injuries and they might be able to catch them. Like, last time I was on this show, me and Nicky did speak about Man City's depth and who's got the best squad depth. And it is Man City. They've got the best squad depth in the Premier League. So he's spot on it. Even if they do have a couple of COVID cases, it's not going to worry him. A few injuries, it's not going to worry him. They're just going to steamroll the title now. It is a shame, though. I do like to see teams battling out for the title. It is a shame that, you know, it's over. But yeah, I think we can safely say City are the champions.
Yeah, I'm a Liverpool fan, so it's a bit of a difficult one for me to to speak on. If I'm going to go over my head, I'm going to say yes. The title looks as though it's City's. I don't know, maybe I'm just being way too optimistic. I just don't want to give up yet, though. I do want to still have a fight. I still want to make sure we're in it until the end. But if I'm a betting man, and make sure you bet with fans bet if you do, then I would say the safe money is on Manchester City because, as you both have said, the squad depth's amazing. Their consistency is amazing. Pep's a fantastic manager. Yeah. And they've been here before. They are the best front runners we've probably seen in the league. So it looks like it's theirs.
Yeah, I can't disagree. But you didn't enjoy that chat. This is a chat you might enjoy a little bit. Let's cross the city. Let's talk about Manchester United. And, of course, a disappointing result against Wolves where they lost 1-0 at home. Where does the blame lie for their poor season so far? Callum, Lackers, you just had a chat that you didn't enjoy, so I'll let you start with this one.
Thank you very much for that, Joe. I really appreciate that. I've enjoyed every second of it. Genuinely, I don't know where the blame lies because, I mean, everyone's blaming Ollie. Ollie gets sacked and things are still just as bad. I mean, Ralph is a fantastic footballing brain, but you wouldn't say he's a great manager. And I think a lot of Man United fans expect him to come in and sort of change the philosophy and ethos and the playing style straight away. I don't think that was ever going to happen. I think Man United are maybe 3-4 players still short of having a title challenging team. And I think you're starting to see that. The inconsistent results. I had them as a shoo-in for top 4, but now it's really difficult to see whether they will or not because Tottenham is starting to sort of pick up points. Arsenal are looking really good in compared to how they looked at the beginning of the season. If I had to blame it on anyone, you kind of got to look at the top. It's not the first regime where things have gone bad. You had Moyes didn't go well, Van Gaal didn't go well, Mourinho didn't go well, Solskjaer didn't go well. With Ralph now, it's not going well. You have to look at the common denominator, and I think the board and the structure of the team is in a state.
I think you've got to look at the players. I really do. I think you've got to look at the player. I mean, there's one common denominator here. I know what you're saying under Moisey and all of that sort of stuff, but in terms of the attitude of some of the players, I think that's where they fall down from, you know, when Ferguson was here to the rest, is that Ferguson surrounded himself with a lot of players that would run through brick walls for him. You know, even when they didn't like him, they'd run through brick walls for him, or if they didn't like him, you know, I'm talking about Roy Keane, they'd run through brick walls to win. And I'm looking at, you know, maybe it's the culture, maybe it's the, you know, the time, you know, this day and age, as they say. But I don't see enough spirit there. You know, more players interested in, you know, we're interested in Jesse Lingard, and there was an incident last year when a friend of mine was going to interview Jesse Lingard, and West Ham put a stop to it. And he sort of said to West Ham, you know, he's got his own brand. He can do what he wants and all of this sort of thing. So, you know, you can't tell him what to do and what not to do. And I think that runs through the dressing room there. They're all entrepreneurial kids and all of that sort of thing. You know, they're more interested in building their brands. And I'll include Ronaldo in that. He's a serial winner, but, you know, his brand is important to him. And I just don't see enough still in there. You know, when the chips are, you know, when it's all going well, and, you know, Bruno Fernandes came in last year and he was scoring for fun. It was all fun and games. Now, you know, I probably wouldn't even have him in the West Ham team. He's been that bad. You know, when the chips are down, who's going to lift the spirits? Who's going to drag the team by the scruff of the neck? I don't see anybody there. And that does come from the top, like you said, Cal. I think that comes from the top because, you know, the managers are struggling with the players, but you have to sort of sanction the players that managers want. They obviously didn't trust Ollie. I mean, Ragnick, I barely heard of him. You know, everyone was talking about him like he was going to come in and revolutionise, like they've got Pep Guardiola. I've heard the name once or twice in football, and I know he's been behind some of the, you know, some of the good managers in the past, but that doesn't, you know, Manchester United is a very, very difficult job. And it takes a very, very specific person to take it. And I think they made the wrong choice. They had Conte there, but lo and behold, unless they give someone time and trust and let them, a bit like West Ham, let them change the philosophy of the club and the outlook and have a complete sort of strip down, that mentality is always going to be there. And I think they're going to be, it's so hard grained in the players' mentalities and within the club at the moment, it's going to take a long time for them to get back to where they were.
Yeah, I agree with you, Nick. I think there's a lot of blame lies at the feet of the players. There's too many egos there. They don't want to run through brick walls, like you say. They don't want to do these sort of things. And obviously, Phil Jones played against Wolves the other day. You know, it's become cool to hate Phil Jones. It's a bit, you know, his faces are a bit of a meme and stuff, and, you know, they are quite funny. But, you know, even the only person there that actually wanted to play, he looked like the only person that actually wanted to play. If you look at, you've probably all seen the picture of all the players walking out on the pitch. And the body language on all of them, except Phil Jones, is just damning. You could just tell that they're just not up for it. They just don't want to be there. And I think a lot of the blame for the current form lies at the players. But yeah, again, it needs a complete restructure from top to bottom, does Man United. And I think that's going to take, another 5-10 years. And, it's going to be a while till we see them back at the top.
You agree? Yeah, I agree. Yeah, but as we're halfway through the conversation, halfway through the season, and we're in the conversation, so I thought I'd bring this up. Who's going to get top 4? Have Man United got a chance? So let's make some predictions. Who's going to finish in the top 4 this season?
City. We've decided City have won it. I think we all agree on that one. I think Liverpool will still get second. I think Liverpool will finish second. There's been talk of sort of like Chelsea dropping out of it because they're on, the form's not great, but I do think they'll pick up. And I think they'll finish third. And I think after that it's one of Arsenal, West Ham, and Tottenham, and that's a lottery. And if I could just choose anyone, to be honest, I want it to be West Ham. I'd love it to be West Ham. I've said it on this show before. I would love to see West Ham just crack that top 4. Just anybody just to crack that top 4 and just see someone different in it. But I do think it'll probably be Arsenal. They just, they've seemed to have turned the corner recently. Tottenham are in with a good shout, though. I think it'll be close between them two. But yeah, I think it'll be City, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal. I'd love it to be West Ham, though. Love it.
So I completely agree with Joe on the top 3 in that order as well. I do think it will be City, Liverpool, Chelsea. The 4th spot, at the beginning of the season, I said Man United would definitely get 4th. I genuinely don't know now, but I also do think they still have a chance. Again, I agree with Joe. I'd love it to be West Ham. And I'm not just saying that because you're here, Nicky. I genuinely would love it to be West Ham. I just don't know if you can sustain the charge because of Europa as well. And I think teams underestimate how much Europa takes out of teams. It is a really tough competition. It doesn't get the sort of accolades and plaudits as the Champions League, but it's just as tough to win. And squad depth in comparison to the others is probably just a little bit behind as well. I think Arsenal got a really good chance because they have no European football, but at the same time, Arsenal struggle against the better opposition, I find. If I had to really stick my neck out and go somewhere, I'd probably go Tottenham at this point because Antonio Conte's been there, done it, knows how to do it. Man United, they're just so inconsistent. I think Tottenham might be the team that breaks that top 4 this season.
Well, obviously, I'd like it to be West Ham, but I honestly don't think it will. I never thought we'd be in this position. That being said, it all depends on what we do in the transfer window. If we can get someone in like Lingard and came in and done an impact like he had last year, and we keep the rest of our players fit because we know we've got a couple of big injuries, we're in with a shout. To get within another point of Arsenal at this point in the season. Obviously, I'm over the moon with that. I do think Arsenal have got the best chance that they've had in a long time. I think they've become more consistent. They had a little blip against Everton, but apart from that, they've been pretty decent, Arsenal. And they give Man City a bit of a run for their money the other day as well. And they needed a little bit of help from the referee. But I think it'd be Arsenal this year. I really do. Tottenham have got a good chance. And as you say, Conte coming in, people are ranting and raving about Conte in terms of what he's done. They've had a lot of games called off, and it's not been, overwhelmingly a big change in their play. And I do think they'll still lose games. They was very close to dropping points the other day against Watford, and we went to Watford a couple of days before that, and they were poor. So to fail to break them down is, he's pretty damning. There's still a lot of work to be done there. I think it shows that, and they've got a tough run of games coming up. But I think it'll be Arsenal this year. I do think it'll be Arsenal, and they've got a couple of good players in good form. Saka, Smith Rowe are on fire at the minute. Martinelli also doing, going good guns. So yeah, I think they'll do it this year, Arsenal. But I think we'll run them tight. I think we'll both West Ham and Tottenham will run them tight.
Fair enough. Well, looking at the other side of the table now, or the other end, should I say, there's a relegation battle going on. So I've got to ask you. Yeah, I just speak about Man City. I'm sorry, Joe, man. So obviously yourselves, Watford, Newcastle, and Norwich. Who out of those 4 teams do you think has the best chance of survival? So, Joe, I've got to start with you, unfortunately. Sorry,
the best out of those 4 will be Newcastle, just because of the money. They're bringing in Trippier. who obviously is a former Burnley player. I like him. I'm very disappointed that he's going there, but I understand why he's going there. We all know why he's going there. But I've seen nothing from Burnley in the last 5-6 games to suggest that we can stop up. I was gutted when we got beat against Leeds. That was the game where we needed to turn the season around. We didn't show up. So for me, we're gone. I'm adamant we're going now. I'm adamant Norwich are gone. They've been gone pretty much ever since they won the championship. And then after that, I just think I think the gap is too big. I mean, teams will get dragged into it. Of course they will, but it just looks bleak. If you're one of Norwich, Burnley, and Watford right now, it looks bleak because Leeds are too far ahead, Everton are too far ahead, Southampton are too far ahead. Villa, they won't stay there. They're going to bring players in. Brentford might get dragged into it, but they would have to absolutely capitulate. So I think for me, it's going to be Norwich, Watford, and then us. But yeah, we have got 2 games in hand on Leeds. So who knows? It's not completely gone, but like I said, I left the game this weekend sort of thinking, yeah, that's it, we're gone. And it was only the second time I've ever thought that in our current Premier League stint, and that was when we got beat against Everton 5-1 on Boxing Day in 2017, I think it was. Obviously, we ended up staying up then, so Sean Dyche proved me wrong that time. Hopefully, he can prove me wrong again. But he's got some big decisions to make. He's got to drop some players. Tarky's not playing well. If Newcastle come in and offer 20 million, I'd say fair enough. You let him go. He's not playing well at all. Dwight McNeil's not playing well. He doesn't look interested. Chris Wood hasn't played well all season. So some big decisions need to be made and some big things to happen for us to stay up. But we're not dead and buried yet, but I don't think we're gone.
I'd agree, Joe. I would say Newcastle, just because of the money. Because they looked, I mean, I still think they look poor. I really do. But I'm looking at the Premier League table now and I see you've got a very similar record to them in terms of, and I didn't realise that, it's just because of the money. I know they've played 2 more games in it than yourself and one more than Watford. I watched Watford the other day. They were poor. They could definitely go. Leeds will turn up at some point, but they'll still be looking over their shoulder because they've played a few more games. So that gives us hope in the FA Cup, and we've got them a couple of weeks later. Everton could get dragged into it. They could very well get dragged into it. I've been looking at them recently, and they were very, very poor. And Dyche is, he's sort of that manager. It's a bit like Wigan. They flirt with this sort of thing, pretty much all season, and then all of a sudden, the last sort of knock into the games, they sort of seem to be able to get the points, Burnley. So hopefully, I want Newcastle to go down, to be honest with you, because I think in terms of where we are, and this is a very selfish reason, I apologise to any Newcastle fans watching this, but in terms of where we are, they're going to be the people that are competing with the players that we want. They're going to be looking at that mid to top range player. If we can get into that consistent run of European football and everything, but they'll be competing with the same amount. It's pure money, but it all depends on what they get now. Trippier looks like he's going to go there. He's a good player, Trippier. Still an England international, so you can't discount that. But do they need a right back? I wouldn't say it was the top of their list, to be quite honest with you, because the kid they've already got is okay there. But they're looking at that sort of. I think they're looking to attract players by bringing in big names. But that didn't work for QPR a few seasons ago. In fact, it had the opposite effect. They brought in these big names, these mid to top ranked players, and they had to chuck a load of money at them, and it just didn't work out for them. So it all depends on who they can get, the quality they can get. But I would be looking, and I said this at the beginning of the season when they sacked Bruce, they need to be looking at people that want to roll up their sleeves and fight, because that's what they're in. They're in a fight. I wouldn't be looking at the likes of Mbappe, because if I was in a relegation battle, I wouldn't be looking at Kylian Mbappe to get me out of it, to be quite honest with you, when you've got to go to the Burnleys and things like that. But yeah, they need a few fighters, but they've got the money to pay for them players now. It's just whether some of them players may turn their noses at them thinking, well, they could go down and there's a World Cup next year. Or do I want to spend another year in the Championship, even if it is for all of that money? I think I might wait for them to come back up. So, yeah, there's all those questions about them. But you've got to say Newcastle, with the resources they've got, have got the greatest chance of staying up.
I think for me, I hear what you're both saying. I just see Newcastle still going down, because even though you may have the money, one, a player's going to want to come to you knowing that there's very likely that you're going to get relegated, and two, even if you bring players in there, they're going to be able to hit the ground running to stop it happening. I actually see Newcastle still going down, and I think players like Trippier will understand that. Even if I go down, we'll probably come straight back up. If you're a Newcastle player or a Newcastle fan, I still see them going down. If I had to really stick my neck out, I'd actually say Burnley would be the ones that survive, because they've done it. They've done it before, and I see Newcastle struggling a lot more than Burnley. Like, I've watched quite a few Burnley games this season. They've been quite unlucky in some of the games, as opposed to Newcastle have just been really, really poor in a lot of the games. So I get where you guys are coming from with the money, but you can bring in the players, but it might not work. And if it doesn't, then it's even more of a battle, because you've brought in new players. You revert back to the old players, or like they've got a real task on their hand, in my opinion. Whereas Burnley, they kind of know what they have to do. They have to just dig in deep and do what they've done for previous years and grind out results. And I think they'll do that. So I actually think Newcastle will go down and Burnley will stay up.
Fingers crossed. Obviously, that'll be the perfect scenario for me. For what I've seen of us, yeah, you say we've been quite unlucky in a few games in the first half of the season. And yeah, we were quite unlucky in some games. We were the better side in quite a few games. Just was unfortunate. We should have been 3-0 up against Brighton on the first day of the season at half time, for example. We should have been dead. We should have easily beat Everton and things like that. But it just didn't happen because Chris Wood's not scoring goals. We need Chris Wood to turn up. And the other thing that I'm worrying about is teams are scoring goals on the edge of the box, and that would never happen against us because the low block, they'd be there straight away, throwing the bodies in front of it. I'm just not seeing that this season from the lads. So, yeah, I'm a little bit worried. But I definitely do want to move on because that conversation hurts. So let's talk about your sides then. We'll start with you, Nicky, at West Ham. Let's talk about your players. Who are you predicting will have a breakout 2022 for your side?
Breakout. I suppose this would count as a breakout, but I'm predicting 2022 to be the re-emergence of Manuel Lanzini. He's been really poor over the last couple of years. He had a bad injury whilst away with Argentina, done his cruciate ligament, was out for a long, long time. And we've never seen the player that he was. And he went from this magical player when he first came in. He was close to Payet in terms of his form at that time. And Payet was magnificent, but it was only him that overshadowed him. I think he would have won all sorts of awards. He was really good, and he had a good few seasons. He's always been an important player for us. He got that injury. He's never been the same. He's never been able to hold down a place in the side. And all due credit for him for sticking around, because he spent a lot of time on the bench, Manuel Lanzini, when he probably could have gone somewhere else and played some football. But he's fought for his place. we had a dip in form a couple of weeks ago. He comes back in. And he transforms the place. He's starting to turn back into the player that we thought he was. I mean, I'm sure you've all seen that goal against Crystal Palace last week. It was it was magical, and that's the sort of thing Manuel Lanzini can do. He's shown glimpses of it. The Tottenham goal last year when he hit one from 35 yards into the top corner in the 94th minute to equalise. But he's starting to show a bit of consistency now in his form. Moyes has always been one of them players that likes to put players back in. He trusts certain players, and he's becoming one of the players that he trusts. With Benrahma going off to the African Cup of Nations, I think he'll hold down his place, even regardless of who comes in. And I think we'll see the re-emergence of him as a really special player.
I think for me at Liverpool, I'd probably say Ibrahima Konate. I think he started the season quite well. He still does have his moments. He's 22, and I think us as a fan base, especially at Liverpool, we can be quite impatient sometimes. I think we have to understand he is 22. He's still going to make mistakes. He's still going to be rash in certain areas of his game, which will take time to iron out as he gets older and gets more experience. But so far from what I've seen, if he continues in the direction that he's going, we could be on to having a really, really good centre-back for the next 5 to 7 years, if not longer. So I'd say he's the one that I'd expect to have a really good 2022, barring injuries or anything like that, because he's getting games, and when he's playing really, really well.
Yeah, fair enough. I think for Burnley, there's never really anyone that, people don't really tend to have breakouts at Burnley, maybe because Dyche doesn't really give youth chance. The last time someone came through the system and did really, really well was Dwight McNeil. That was, 3 seasons ago now. I think, though, this season, it could obviously depend on what happens in the summer, what league we're in next season. I think if we do go down, you might see the likes of Lewis Richardson, who's a forward, and Bobby Thomas, who's a defender, being trusted a bit more in the Championship. But I think for me now, what I would do, as I said earlier, is I would make some changes at Burnley. I'd make some big changes. I think Nathan Collins needs to come in. So in the next 6 months, if it were up to me, I'd trust Nathan Collins to say, right, you are a central defender now. I'd personally drop Tarky because he's obviously leaving in the summer. He's not been playing very well this season. He's made a few mistakes that have led to goals. So we might as well bring Nathan Collins in and let him, get some experience and things like that. So I'd like to see him come in a bit more. Every time I have seen him, he's been fantastic. He's been a really, really good defender, played in some tough games when, players have been injured, and he's done very, very well. And I think he's a very, very good buy. And if we do go down to the Championship, I do think we're in a decent position to bounce straight back up to a certain extent because we have the likes of Collins on the bench and Roberts. There will be obviously a clear out. But yeah, for me, I'm going to go Nathan Collins because personally, like I said, I would play him for the next 6 months in the Prem, and then even if we're in the Championship for the next 6 months, he'll just mop it up. He'll do very well.
You have to be careful with that though, because we had a player back in 2003 that we'd done that with, and he came in because it looked like we was going down to the Championship. It was Glenn Johnson, and we didn't see him in the Championship because we sold him.
Yeah.
Glenn was a terrific player though back in the day.
Yeah, he was good. Yeah.
Terrific player.
Now let's finish off with some Premier League retro. And this is a good question, actually. I've got a few on my mind, but who is your side's most frustrating / disappointing player in Premier League history? Go on, Cal, we'll start with you, mate.
Oh, we've had our fair share. Goodness me. Most frustrating. I may say Harry Kewell. And again, it probably wasn't even his fault because he just was really unlucky with injuries with us. But when we signed Harry Kewell, I thought he was the missing piece of the puzzle. I thought he was the player that was going to come in and say, right, we're going to win the league with Harry Kewell now. He was phenomenal at Leeds. The only other winger in the league at the time that was really on his level was maybe Giggs. I think Perez was still around that time. Giggs and Perez, I'd say. Apart from those two, I think he was just elite at that time. And I remember we got him for a really cut price deal because of the issues that were going on with Leeds at the time. And I was thinking, we had just finished, I think, second in the league when we bought him. And I was like, yep, well, this is it now. We've gone and got Harry Kewell. We're going to go and win the league. We haven't had a left winger since John Barnes. We've gone and got Harry Kewell. And it just didn't work out at all. I mean, obviously he left the club with a Champions League medal. But even in that game, he started and came off because his body just couldn't handle what was happening. And
yeah,
it was extremely annoying. Obviously, we've had our likes of Andy Carrolls and players like that. But I think for me, Harry Kewell's the big one because he genuinely made a lot of Liverpool fans feel as though he was going to help us win the league.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm going to go Stephen Defoe. Now, a lot of Burnley fans are watching this and they're thinking, Stephen Defoe, who we had about? He was class, but exactly the same sort of reasons as you, just hampered by injury. He was head and shoulders above anything we've ever had at that point. He's easily the most technically gifted Burnley player I've ever seen in my lifetime. That boy was sensational. He could run games in the middle of the park. My only criticism of him should I say, would probably a little bit lightweight and get muscled off the ball a little bit too easily. But what he could do with his feet was sensational. He's probably the only, Maxwell Corner is probably the only player that comes close. But again, just hampered by injuries, should have been here for years, could have been a legend. As fans do think quite highly of him still. But he could have been here for such a long time and such a very, very good player if it weren't for his injuries.
Fair. There's a few for West Ham. I could give a few honourable mentions. Felipe Anderson, he's frustrating. Andy Carroll for the same reasons. Going back even further than that, similar reason to you, Cal. Lee Bowyer, for very similar reasons. We had him. He was one of the top midfielders in the world, and I don't even think he scored a goal for us until his second spell at the club. But the one I'm going to go for, plump for, is because there was such high expectation on him, and he was just so inconsistent, was Sebastian Haller, who is absolutely ripping it up in the Champions League at the moment. Yeah. He's doing really well for Ajax. But for West Ham, he didn't fit. He was so inconsistent and there was big expectations on him. but he just couldn't get a run of games, couldn't get a run of form, couldn't get a run of goal scoring form. And yeah, he just ended up whimpering out really, and we sold him to Ajax for a cut price deal. So it's got to be Sebastian Haller for me.
Yeah, fair enough.
Some great shouts there, some great shouts. Well, thank you very, very much to everyone who joined us for episode 8 of Fan Zone. We've enjoyed it. Hope you guys have. So please do smash the like button and subscribe if you're new to the FansBet YouTube channel. Guys, where can the people find you so they can support you and see the fantastic work that you guys do?
Oh, me first. Oh, sorry. Yeah, you can find us on West Ham Fan TV across all of our social media and our YouTube channel. If you want to drop us a sub, then please do, because we're on the road to 100k, and once we get there, I'm going to be a very, very happy man. So,
lovely.
Yeah, for me, same. Just search TurfCast podcast on anything. My goal's a little bit less. I'm just on the road to 1k. I'll take 1k right now. We've had a few recently. A few subs recently. So please head over to the channel, hit that subscribe button, and if you support, we greatly appreciate it. If you want to find us on any other social media channels, it is just TurfCast podcast, pretty much across the board.
And you can find me on Team Kopish across all platforms as well, whether it be YouTube or social media. We're on the road to 30k, so we're in between Joe and Nicky at the moment. But please do support us. Also, a massive, massive shout out to FansBet as always. Please make sure you support this channel. We've got some great content coming in the near future as well, so make sure you do that. And until next time, stay safe, stay blessed, and we'll see you soon. Take care, everyone.
Cheers, guys.
cheers.